Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. If you're new, hit that sub button. We're here to give you great NFL content. Stay tuned.
Let's talk more about the Detroit game, because obviously this team has been, oh my goodness. I mean, to say they've been injured is an understatement. 22 guys on the IR entering this week. The next closest team was 16. I mean, by a comparative factor, for all the listeners out there, the Detroit Lions have 22 guys on IR. The team they played last week, the Buffalo Bills, have a total of 3. It's a battle of attrition in the NFL. Richard, you know that better than anybody. These injuries can come up at random at any time. And this Detroit Lion team is battling injuries right now. Hopefully they can get some key guys back entering the playoffs. But right now, the focus and goal of this franchise is to take that 1 seed so that they can have a first round bye and get healthy. They desperately need David Montgomery back. Today didn't matter, right? You're playing the Chicago Bears on the road. You're projected to win. You take care of business. But the reality is you're playing a division foe. Richard, you know all too well. It doesn't matter the record. When you play a division rival, especially on the road, it's anyone's game. And for the Detroit Lions to come out with their hair on fire and go up numerous scores early in this game, it was huge. You can't take more than what the Lions have had to overcome this season, and they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And I don't know. I'm curious to know where your head's at with this Detroit Lion team. Despite the injuries, do you believe still that they are the NFC's best team at this point?
I don't think it's particularly close, and I don't. We watched what the Philadelphia Eagles were today without Jalen Hurts, obviously. But until they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they're pretty old on defense. And Jalen Hurts doesn't play defense. So to see Jaden Daniels, a rookie quarterback, throw for 5 touchdowns against that defense was concerning. And it's concerning on a number of levels. They scored 36 points on this defense. So that's one of the strengths, and has been a strength of this Philadelphia Eagles team down the stretch, and what we've started to really count on and really give them credit for. Even when Jalen Hurts struggled, it was Saquon Barkley who picked up all the extra, carried the extra weight. But I believe in this Detroit Lions team. I think it's inspiring what they're doing. It's inspiring that you talk about next man up mentality. It's been that, and that's what it is for Super Bowl caliber teams. You talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and what they overcome every single year. They lost Pacheco for a while. They put Kareem Hunt in there, and it was next man up. They lose a guy, they replace him. They lose a guy, they replace him, and the next man just keeps stepping up until they get to the Super Bowl. That's what Detroit is going to have to do, and it's unfortunate. Thankfully, they're saying David Montgomery isn't lost for the season. They're saying there's a chance that he can return, which would be huge. But right now, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have to carry the load, and that's what he's doing. And that's what he did today. 23 carries, 109 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 catches for 45 yards, impacted both phases of the offensive game plan. Jameson Williams with his best game, career high, 143 yards on 5 catches with the 1 touchdown. That's what you expected from him. And sometimes these injuries allow for other guys to flourish and other guys to develop. And these are still NFL players you got. You got to find more. You got to get other guys. Guys are going to have to step up. And it's going to be an inspirational story at the end of the day if the Detroit Lions can pull it all together and win a Super Bowl under these circumstances with everything against them. They're not making any excuses. They're just going out there and getting to work. This was a beautifully game-planned game. By both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Again, the same thing that makes you laugh can make you cry. And hopefully the team is able to finish the job this year, because those coordinators are likely going to get head coaching jobs other places. You heard Ben Johnson earlier in the week talk about Caleb Williams and what makes him special and what he'd do and how he'd fix him. And, he hasn't looked at a lot of tape. And it's like, what are we saying, Ben Johnson? But I hear you. Focus on where your feet are. Focus on where your feet are. And that's what he said. He's saying all the right things. But that was very curious for me, Metro. That was very curious for me to hear. And Caleb Williams over the last 5 games, 63% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, 101.9 passer rating. These are things that make me say, Now, he's gotten sacked a lot over those games, and I think he's held a lot of footballs he could have thrown away, which would have lowered that passer rating and things like that. And those are things the fans don't really know, but an offensive lineman would, because an offensive lineman is credited with those sacks, but the quarterback's not credited with an incompletion. Mitchell, you see how that works there? When a quarterback holds the ball and he doesn't have something, he could throw it away and live to fight another down, but they eat it so they can protect their passer rating and things of that nature. And offensive linemen have to deal with the sack numbers. So we'll get to that another time, but Caleb Williams throws for 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran it for 34 yards. But again, playing from behind most of this game, they were never really a threat in this game. Keenan Allen, the veteran, did have 9 catches for 141 yards and 1 touchdown on a double move, which I don't understand why you're biting on in this situation, but it is what it is. Our guy, Sonic, gets our Breitling Players in Prime Time, brought to you by our friends and partners over at Breitling. He had a heck of a game, Mitchell. They asked for more, and he delivered. He delivered more in both phases of the game, and I think he's going to continue to do that. He's going to continue to say, hey, if you don't have knuckles here, I can carry it. I can show you I'm a viable back. I am a Pro Bowl running back in the National Football League, and if you need me to be that, I will be that for every down, not just third down, not just passing situations. I will be it 100% of the time until my guy gets back. And I love the unselfishness of this locker room. Whatever it takes seems to be the mentality of everybody in this locker room. Mitchell, you got to be proud.
Richard, I am. And you know what I am proud about? I was just at the Breitling store, this week, flashing off my Honolulu Blue Breitling. And I'm pretty sure Jahmyr Gibbs has got a matching one of these. And they said the Detroit Lions Breitlings have sold out, my friend. But if you, yeah, Richard, that's how hot this team is right now. These bad boys have sold out. But if you are a fan of another team in the NFL and you want one, go get you one. Breitling's doing some special stuff with teams across the NFL. You guys got to check them out. But Richard, this team was laughed at. The Detroit Lions were laughed at for drafting Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12. And Brad Holmes said he would have drafted him at number 6 if they had stayed there, but they chose to trade back and they got him at 12. And it's showing why they did that. And obviously this team is wanting to grind it out and beat teams up between the tackles. Jahmyr Gibbs, they're going to have to lean on him quite a bit, down the stretch. They're going to have to go to San Francisco next week, Rich, Monday Night Football, and they're going to have to get another dub. A redemption tour continues in San Francisco. Make right for that NFC Championship game. The Detroit Lions, they needed this win bad, and they got it. Richard, you love to see it.